I will marry you, and you too, and even you.
In the peaceful village of Willow, nestled between lush green hills and winding rivers, there was a young man named Kai. Kai was the kind of man who could make heads turn with just one smile. Tall, with striking features and a natural charisma, he was admired by everyone who laid eyes on him. But it wasn't just his looks that caught people's attention. Kai had a way of speaking that made each person feel special, as if they were the only one in the world. For the young women in Willow Village, Kai was a mystery, a dream, and the ultimate prize. Rumour had it that he had promised to marry many of them, telling each girl that she held a special place in his heart. Whether it was his warm smile, his smooth words, or his captivating gaze, every girl believed that she might just be the one Kai would finally choose. Kai wasn't just charming, he was almost worshipped. Everywhere he went, he was showered with gifts and affection. The girls would bring him baskets of fruits, woven bracelets, or small handmade trinkets, hoping to win his favour. Some would wake up at dawn just to catch a glimpse of him as he walked down to the river, where he often bathed in the cool, refreshing water. Kai enjoyed every moment of it. He knew how much the girls admired him, and he played along, savouring the attention without making any real commitments. In fact, he would often tell stories under the big willow tree at the centre of the village. The girls would gather around, listening to him intently, hanging on every word. Kai would talk about his dreams, his plans, and the life he envisioned, but he never truly revealed whom he wanted to spend it with. Each girl was left guessing, hoping that one day he'd call her name and tell her she was the one. But over time, admiration began to shift. What started as innocent admiration and playful competition among the girls soon turned into something darker. The constant teasing, the lingering glances, and the unspoken promises Kai left behind began to stir jealousy and rivalry. Every girl wanted to be the one who won Kai's heart, and they grew wary of each other, no longer able to keep their emotions hidden. One evening, as they gathered under the willow tree, the tension was palpable. Nia, a confident young woman with a sharp tongue, finally broke the silence. "Nina, don't you think it's funny?" she said, narrowing her eyes. "How you're always around Kai, bringing him gifts as if that's going to make him choose you." Nina, who was usually soft-spoken, didn't hesitate to snap back. "And you think Kai's interested in someone like you, Nia?" "You may be loud, but that doesn't make you special." The other girls watched, sensing that something was about to unravel. Words were exchanged, voices raised, and fingers pointed. The laughter that once filled their gatherings under the willow tree faded away, replaced by biting remarks and simmering resentment. Kai, of course, remained blissfully unaware of the rivalry brewing around him. To him, the attention was harmless, and he thought it was only natural for the girls to be a little competitive. He didn't realise that his casual flirtations and vague promises were leaving a trail of broken hearts. Every day he would stroll through the village, receiving smiles and compliments, oblivious to the tension among the girls. He enjoyed the freedom of being admired by many and felt no need to settle down with just one. As long as each girl believed she held a special place in his life, he was content. As the days passed, the girls found themselves gathering in smaller groups, sharing whispers and casting suspicious glances at one another. Mara, a friend of Nia, decided to take matters into her own hands. She was tired of seeing Kai play with everyone's feelings without consequence. "We should make him choose," Mara suggested one afternoon, her voice filled with determination. "It's not fair for him to lead us all on like this." Nia nodded, her eyes filled with a fire that matched Mara's. "Yes, let's see how much he truly cares. Let's make him prove his love." The other girls hesitated, but the idea began to take root. The innocence of their affection was fading, replaced by a desire to confront Kai, to force him into a decision he had long avoided. But no one knew how Kai would respond, or if he'd even take them seriously. The girls agreed to meet Kai under the willow tree, the place where he had spun so many tales and charmed each of them in turn. They sent a message through one of his close friends, asking him to come that evening. Kai, intrigued but unaware of their true intentions, agreed to meet them. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the village, Kai made his way to the willow tree. When he arrived, he was met by the sight of the girls gathered in a circle, their faces a mixture of determination, hurt, and frustration. The usually friendly atmosphere was heavy with unspoken words and unresolved emotions. Kai, Mara began, stepping forward. We need to talk. Kai raised an eyebrow, a playful smile on his lips. What's this all about? You all look so serious. It's because we are serious, Nia interrupted, her tone sharp. We're tired of your games, Kai. We all thought we meant something to you, but you've been leading us on. It's time to choose. Kai's smile faltered, a flicker of confusion crossing his face. I didn't realize you all felt this way. Nina stepped forward, her eyes narrowing. Of course you didn't. You've been too busy enjoying the attention to notice. For the first time, Kai felt a pang of guilt. He tried to explain, stumbling over his words. I never meant to hurt anyone. I thought we were all just friends. I care about each of you. But his words only seemed to fuel the girls' frustration. They had heard enough empty promises, enough sweet words that meant nothing. Each one of them had believed, if only for a moment, that she was special to him. But now they saw through his charm. Care? Nia scoffed. If you cared, you wouldn't have let each of us believe we were the only one. The girls began to press him, their voices rising, each one expressing the hurt and betrayal they felt. Kai realized that his charm wouldn't get him out of this one. He could see the pain in their eyes, a pain he hadn't intended to cause but had fostered with his careless flirtations. As the girls continued to confront him, Kai found himself at a loss for words. For the first time, he felt the weight of his actions pressing down on him. He had enjoyed the attention, the gifts, and the admiration, but he hadn't thought about the consequences. Now, standing in front of them, he saw the disappointment and hurt he had caused. In that moment, Kai realized that he was no longer in control. His beauty, charm, and charisma had gotten him this far, but they were no longer enough to protect him. The girls were no longer competing for his attention. They were united in their hurt and resentment. Finally, Mara spoke up, her voice steady and unyielding. Kai, it's time to make a choice. You can't keep us all hanging on false promises. Either you choose someone now, or you lose us all. The silence that followed was deafening. Kai looked around at the faces he had once admired, each one now demanding something he wasn't sure he could give. He knew that his actions had led him here, but he didn't know how to fix the damage he had done. With a heavy heart and no easy way out, Kai hesitated, unsure of what to do. The girls watched him, their expressions a mix of hope and heartbreak. Would he choose? Could he even bring himself to decide? And so, the story ends here, for now, leaving us all wondering, what will Kai do? Will he finally choose, or has he pushed them all too far? The silence stretched long and heavy as Kai stood in the middle of the circle of girls, each of them waiting for his answer. His usual confidence and easygoing charm had faded, leaving him visibly uneasy. He glanced around, searching for a way out, but found none. The girls' faces held a mix of anticipation and disappointment, with some looking hurt, others angry. Kai hesitated, feeling the weight of their expectations pressing down on him. For once, his beauty and charm weren't enough to rescue him from the mess he had created. He took a deep breath, but before he could speak, Nia broke the silence. Well, Kai, who's it going to be? She demanded, her voice sharp and filled with impatience. Kai stammered, unsure of what to say. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I care about each of you. But his words, though soft and sincere, fell flat. They were the same words he'd used so many times before, empty and unconvincing. The girls weren't here for more of his charm. They wanted action, a real commitment. Seeing the growing disappointment in their faces, Kai knew he needed to say something different. He took a step forward, his voice low but honest. "I'm sorry," he said, looking around at each of them. "I never meant to hurt any of you. I enjoyed our time together, but I see now that I was selfish. I let myself get carried away with the attention without thinking of the consequences." For a moment, a flicker of understanding passed over some of their faces. His apology was genuine, and the vulnerability in his eyes hinted at a side of Kai they hadn't seen before. But Mara, who had led the confrontation, wasn't satisfied. "Words aren't enough, Kai. We trusted you. We believed in you. You made us all feel like we were special, but it was all just a game to you." The other girls murmured in agreement, nodding as they folded their arms or looked away, still hurt. Kai's shoulders slumped, his usual confidence replaced by a deep sense of shame. For the first time, he truly understood the impact of his actions. He could see the pain in their eyes, a pain he had caused without even realizing it. He felt trapped, torn between his desire to make things right and his inability to commit to any of them. The thought of choosing just one filled him with dread, but the idea of losing all of them felt equally unbearable. Finally, he spoke, his voice barely a whisper. "I know I can't take back what I've done. I can only ask for your forgiveness. I don't deserve it, but I hope you'll understand. I never meant to hurt any of you." The girls looked at one another, sharing a silent understanding. They had come here hoping for a resolution, but Kai's inability to choose was the final confirmation they needed. They could see that he wasn't ready to commit, and holding on to him would only bring them more pain. Nina, who had been quiet for most of the confrontation, stepped forward, her voice soft but resolute. "Kai, we wanted you to choose, but maybe the truth is, none of us are truly meant for you. We deserve someone who sees our worth without hesitation, without needing a push." The other girls nodded in agreement, their expressions softening as they realized that clinging to Kai was no longer worth the heartache. One by one, the girls turned away from him, leaving him standing alone under the willow tree. Each step they took felt like a weight lifting from their shoulders, a release from the hold Kai had unknowingly kept on their hearts. As they walked back into the village together, the girls began to talk and laugh, their bond strengthened by the shared experience. They realized that they had allowed their admiration for Kai to divide them, but now they found comfort and support in each other. Kai watched them go, feeling a profound emptiness settle over him. For the first time, he was truly alone. The admiration, the gifts, the attention, everything he had once taken for granted was gone. He sat down under the willow tree, his head in his hands, realizing that his charm and beauty had only brought him temporary happiness, a fleeting joy that now felt hollow. As the evening shadows lengthened, Kai reflected on his choices, his heart heavy with regret. He thought of each girl he had let down, each promise he had broken, and understood that he could no longer escape the consequences of his actions. Days passed, and the atmosphere in Willow Village shifted. Kai was no longer the center of attention. The girls had moved on, their lives filled with new dreams and ambitions, their hearts no longer tied to him. They treated him kindly but distantly, acknowledging him with polite smiles but keeping their distance. Kai felt the loss deeply, realizing that his carelessness had cost him the respect and friendship of the very people who had once admired him. He was no longer the adored heartthrob of Willow Village. He was just Kai, a young man learning the hard way that beauty and charm are no substitute for sincerity and respect. One day, Kai was approached by old Sefu, the village elder known for his wisdom. Sefu had watched the events unfold with a knowing eye, and he sat down beside Kai under the willow tree, where so many promises had been made and broken. "Young man," Sefu began, his voice calm and steady, "beauty is a gift, but it can also be a curse if not used wisely. You have learned a valuable lesson, one that many never understand until it's too late. To love someone is to honor them, not to string them along for your own pleasure." Kai nodded, feeling the weight of the elder's words. He had never thought of love in that way before, but now he understood. He had been selfish, thinking only of his own enjoyment without considering the impact on others. Determined to make amends, Kai began to take a new path. He helped around the village, assisting those in need, showing kindness without expectation. He sought forgiveness from each girl he had hurt, not with words alone, but through his actions. It was a slow process, but he knew that rebuilding trust would take time. The village noticed the change in him. Kai no longer sought admiration or adoration. He sought to be a better man, a man who valued others and respected their hearts. The girls, seeing his efforts, began to forgive him, appreciating his humility and newfound respect. Months passed, and the memories of Kai's flirtations faded, replaced by stories of his kindness and sincerity. He became a respected member of the community, admired not for his looks but for his character. His transformation was complete, and he finally found peace in knowing that he was more than just a handsome face. In time, love found Kai again, but this time it was real, built on trust, respect, and mutual admiration. The lessons he had learned had shaped him into a man worthy of love, a man who understood that true happiness comes not from fleeting admiration, but from genuine connections. As Kai sat under the willow tree once more, he looked out at the village with a sense of gratitude. The tree, once a symbol of his reckless youth, was now a reminder of the path he had walked, the mistakes he had made, and the lessons he had learned. Kai smiled, knowing that he had found his place in the world, not as the heartbreaker of Willow Village, but as a man who had learned the true meaning of love and respect.